Hi, everybody. Today we're going to talk about when do you put the usability risk analysis or use risk analysis and the formative usability testing in your design and development plan. So these are two documents that are required in your usability engineering file, the URRA or use related risk analysis and the formative usability testing. When are you going to put that in your plan? And so you need to actually have a plan so you can see that. So we're going to show you in our system. Here we go. I'm trying a different layout today, so let me know if it's a little easier to see. This is portrait view of the design and development plan. We have a combined design and development plan. We have 5 phases to that design and development plan. You could easily add a 6th if you split your verification and validation phase, V and V, into 2 parts. Why would you do that? Because you're doing a clinical study. So if you have a clinical study, you would do verification first to make sure that your device is safe before you use it on people for actual use. Now, summative usability testing, would typically be done in that phase right before clinical study, or if you don't do a clinical study, in that combined V and V stage. Why would you do it then? Because you need a final instruction for use. You need final software. You can't really make any changes to your device at all because this is the final validation of simulated use for your device. And you want to do it just before you do your clinical study, if you have a clinical study, to make sure that there are no use errors in your clinical study. So it might be done during a site initiation visit with a CRA. But the formative testing occurs earlier than that, maybe in a draft. So you're doing a dry run of your summative testing protocol. And the other item, the URRA, you have to create before you actually are going to create that summative validation protocol, because the summative validation protocol has to validate each of the observed tasks and knowledge-based tasks that are in your URRA. So you're going to have to, by necessity, you have to do them earlier than that summative testing you're going to do in phase 4. So phase 3 is the logical place. So that's where we've got it identified here. And I'm also showing you the other things that you would typically do here. If you have seen earlier versions of our design and risk management plan before, you will notice, hey, there's a little bit more here. What we've done is we've updated all our cybersecurity templates. We've got all of them complete now. So I've got all of them entered in here in the template numbers. We also have our software templates in there. So if you don't have software, you don't have cybersecurity, you would delete those items. But if you do have those items, then you're going to, go away. So if you're going to be doing software validation or cybersecurity, you're going to need to make sure that those 2 items are included. But if you don't do software validation or cybersecurity, you can delete those items. Usability should always be included. Risk management should always be included. Design should always be included. So you should be able to tell from the items. For example, software design specification, that's obviously for software. Cybersecurity controls, obviously for cybersecurity. The critical task analysis you may not recognize, but that's a usability item. So depending on what type of device you have, some of these will apply and some of these won't apply. But this is our master design plan for design and risk management. And you can get a copy of the full one that has all the phases and the instructions if you purchase our design procedure or our risk management procedure. And I have already updated it in both. So Alicia, who I see is there on our group, she says hi to everybody. If you can please send out a campaign email to everybody that purchased those 2 procedures, our turnkey quality system, we can let them know, hey, we have this new template in there, without the highlights, of course. But it has all the new cybersecurity templates in there, and those cybersecurity templates were just updated yesterday. They were in there as drafts, but I've gone through each and every one of them and finalized them. So we should be good on the cybersecurity templates. We should be good on this risk management plan and the design plan. So I was hoping that we would have a few more people that had joined, but it seems to be a problem here where we're having fewer people join today. So the key thing that I wanted to emphasize here is people aren't sure when they're supposed to be doing these usability tasks. And so as you go through the different phases in our design and risk management plan, you'll see where we've inserted them. But it's okay to move them earlier in your schedule. The design and development plans are just plans. They're not set in stone. So you're allowed to move them earlier in your plan or make them later in your plan. If you're making them early in your plan, that might be because you want to submit a pre-sub to the FDA and get feedback on it. So if that was the case, I might do my URRA much earlier and my protocol and my formative testing earlier so I can get FDA feedback on it. I wouldn't change when I'm going to do the summative validation, but I might change when I'm going to create some of those documents. On the other hand, if I have a second, third, fourth generation device that doesn't have any changes to the user interface, I might not even do some of those documents. I might have them already completed. I might not need summative testing. So you're allowed to make adjustments based on the specific design project you're working on. It's just a template. It's suggested. And if you come up with a different way you want to do it, like we want to use a fault tree instead of an FMEA, or we're not doing anything for an FDA submission, so we don't need a URRA, we're going to use our use FMEA, that's okay. But our goal here was to show you where in your design and development plan the usability tasks belong and why. And to repeat it one more time, the reason why you would do a URRA before you're going to do the formative testing and before you're going to do your summative testing is because you have to identify what tasks are critical. You're going to use that URRA to create a draft summative protocol, and you might be executing that draft usability protocol as a dry run for formative testing. You might be doing it with some volunteers in your company, some people that are existing customers. But then when you do the summative validation, the final validation for human factors, you're going to want to do that on the final version of software, your final version of your instruction for use. And if you're doing it as part of a clinical study, you're going to want to make sure that you do it as part of that site initiation visit. So summative is going to be later. Formative is going to be in this development phase. There are other reasons why you would do the formative in this phase. And I show it here as once, but there's no reason why you might not do the formative testing multiple times. Example number one, if you need to come up with a better instruction for use, you might do several different versions of the instructions or sections of the instructions to see which one's easier for users to follow. So that might be an example. Which one leads to fewer difficulties and mix-ups? Number two, you might use that early version of your instructions in the formative testing to develop some training materials, identify what areas you need better explanation on how to do it, maybe some show and tell with video. That's a great idea for doing formative testing, is to develop training materials. And of course, the classic reason why we do formative testing is even though we may have done a search for all our known use errors, and we did a webinar about that yesterday, even though we did a search for all the possible known use errors, that doesn't mean there aren't new ones that we've created in this design. Sometimes we create a use error when we eliminate another one. So the risk associated with risk controls that we've implemented. So now that we have a slightly different, newer product, we might have new use errors, and the way you find those is in formative testing. You also might be looking at different versions of user interfaces and different risk controls that you want to try. See which one is the easiest, see which one leads to the fewest mistakes, see which one is the most precise, if accuracy is important. So when you're trying to develop different risk controls, that's a perfect reason for doing small formative testing. So you might have multiple human factors, formative testing 1, 2, 3, for each one's for a different purpose. There's no required format, there's no required content, but the more formal you make it, the easier it will be able to document in your usability engineering file how those results from your formative testing resulted in design changes, and that'll help you because that's required actually in your summative report. So I hope this helps people understand where this usability content belongs and why it belongs in those places in your plan. And I hope this shows you we've updated some key things in our plan to help you out so you know where it goes. We don't want this design and risk management plan to take months to create. It should take hours to create. And because you can change it, don't worry that it's perfect. There's no such thing as perfect. It's a plan. Nobody ever had a perfect plan. The key is to have perfect execution. And we have Lindsay joined us too. Hi, Lindsay. If you have any questions, I'm just finishing up here. Please don't forget, in the comments below, let me know what you think of the new layout. I'm trying this. It gives, of course, a bigger video screen, but it also is a very different look for the image that I'm trying to show here. And I want to know what kind of feedback you have on that. And if there's other forms or templates that specifically you're having trouble with, let me know what you would like us to show next. And it'd be really easy to put it in this display mode, and we can sort of show a close-up of some of those forms or tables to help you out. So let me know, and we're looking forward to seeing you next week. Don't forget, comments down below, let us know what you thought, and share this with other people that are making their own design and risk management plans. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.